to start up this way, but for those of you that are new to the club that don't know Dennis Chance, having moved to the area, he's a veteran of the U.S. Air Force, and after his service to the Air Force, got involved in the banking business and moved up eventually to be president of the Bank of Tennessee. Following that stint, he was state banking commissioner for a while under good Governor Ned McWhirter, I believe. Is that right, Dennis? Following that, he was an entrepreneurial businessman in Kingsport, involved in starting small businesses and residential properties. He was mayor for a decade, got a lot of things done. This facility here we're in now was a result of a lot of his work. And following that, he's taken on a new role. Private and public sector people got together and wanted to improve regionalism and created what's known as the East Tennessee Regional Hub. So Dennis, take it away. Let's welcome Dennis.
Say that standing while I finish. You know, first time I spoke to this club was 36 years ago when I was commissioner, and it made a real impression on me. Back in those days, if you needed something, someone said, pass the bread. If you were sitting at this table, you pass the bread to that table through the air. Had a lot of fun. But I'm glad to see that you're still doing the pledge the old-fashioned way. I was at a meeting up with Brumwell the other day, and they did pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the Republican for which it stands. And y'all are still saying Republic. So I'm glad to hear that. I am here to talk about regionalism. It's something that's been talked about for probably 10 years. And about 2 years ago, according to Mayor Venable and Mayor Kennedy, they got very serious about it and started touring around talking about regionalism. I was called by a couple of the board members and asked if I would be willing to be the CEO for regionalism. And for some reason I agreed to do it. To say it's controversial is probably an understatement, but I think most of the controversy comes from not understanding. Our regionalism that we're proposing is from the counties from Greene County to Johnson County. And what we are hoping to do is to speak with one voice when it comes to economic development. Now, we have a state legislator here, and I think he'll agree with me. And when I was riding around with Governor McWhirter, we were going to the cabinet meetings throughout the state. It was putting our legislators in a bind and the governor, because we're speaking with about 8 or 10 voices up here. Everyone wants the same thing from government. If the representative from Hawkins County wants it, the representative from Washington County, Southern County, we're all going down trying to talk to the governor about the same thing. The real truth is, it gets down to available land, to terrain. And that's one thing that in Northeast Tennessee, we don't have a lot of flat land. So we need to try to locate industry within these 6 or 7 counties to the best of our ability, because it helps everyone. I don't know if you know, but the second largest employer in Washington County is Eastman Chemical Company. So people will travel for well-paid jobs. And when we're fighting for these jobs among each other, it puts it at a somewhat disadvantage. I think our economic development people are doing a fairly good job. But I think for the money that's being spent, that we could do a lot better. And our CEOs, and let me tell you, the board members of the Hub are Mark Costa, Alan Levine, Brian Nolan, Jerry Caldwell, Will Barrett, Bank Tennessee, Joe Randy, Richard Venable, the mayors of Kingsport and Johnson City, and Mayor Shaw is a member of the board, and in Johnson City, Kathy Ball, the city manager, is a member of the board. These people have pledged almost $1 million a year for the next 3 years for us to try to get regionalism going. We have met, and we have met, and we have met. And let me tell you, the only way this is going to happen is through your legislators, your commissioners, not legislators, your commissioners. I've talked to all the legislators involved in this, and they have really no problem with it, because I think it would be a good thing if we could all go to Nashville and speak with one voice on industry. There's a misconception that the hub is going to do away with all the chambers and all the Fun Fest and all the Blue Plums, and you know, that's just not true. The thing about social media is that there's a requirement that 20% of it has to be truthful. And therefore, there's a big problem that we have all over the world today. But we're not trying to, the hub is not trying to take away from anything. We're trying to enhance, work with. Most cities will continue to have someone working on economic development. Anyone that thinks that John Rose would be replaced in Kingsport needs to be examined, because without John Rose is one of the best hires this city has ever made, and he works on economic development all the time. Our job as a hub would be to help John Rose in any way possible, and our city manager and our board of mayor and aldermen and the county commissioners of each county. It's not to take away anything, it's to help. And I have been asked several times, how do you commingle money with the private sector and the public sector? But let me say, first of all, we're not asking any city or county to put in $1 more in economic development than what is being done now. Matter of fact, we could probably, if we work this right, we could probably do more with a little less money, and that would be our goal. As far as commingling, there's not really going to be commingling. Some people, I think that we're going to take Kingsport money, Sullivan County money, and we're going to invest it in land in Washington, Unicoi, and Greene County. That cannot legally happen, absolutely will not happen. When you have a prospect coming into that wants to locate, what we would do is exactly what networks and other areas should be doing. They should be showing them all the available land. Right now, networks, for example, will show Sullivan County. Now, they might tell you they'll show Washington, Hawkins, and Unicoi, but their priority, they're funded by the cities of Kingsport, Bristol, Bluff City, and Sullivan County. So that's where their primary goal is. So I think that there's a possibility, they'll probably disagree with this, but I think there's a possibility that we're losing prospects because we don't think outside our own county. Bill Dudney and I can write you a book about the banking industry. When I was commissioner in 1987, commissioner of banking, a bank was not allowed to go outside its home county. If you were a Sullivan County bank, you couldn't go to Washington County, and it was killing the banking industry. Today, we would not be surviving in the industry if that rule was passed and was changed in 1987 when I was commissioner under Governor McWhorter. Now, we have one of the strongest banking systems in the state. We also have one of the strongest independent banking associations in the state. So it is possible to expand and do more with what you have, and I think that's, sometimes I think we need to put a toll gate up on Washington County and Sullivan County. And I think, you know, when if you can get from here to Johnson City without going through 2 or 3 wrecks on the interstate, which is pretty frequent. But we need to put away I don't like this CEO, I don't like that CEO, the other. It doesn't matter what you think of the CEOs of these corporations. We have to rely on these corporations and these businesses for most big ventures that we do. With the dental school, I can tell you now, I think Chris will tell you, without the help of Eastman and the hospital, Ballard, we have no chance at the dental school. And I told someone the other day, I said, these CEOs are asking us to try this. When you try it, you're only doing, government only funds once a year. Next year, if we're not doing the job, they don't have to fund us again. They don't have to fund networks again. They don't have to fund anything. Basically, they fund year after year. You make a 1-year commitment. So it's not a marriage for life. We're asking to try regionalism for 1 year at a time and do an evaluation each year. We've been well received. Net Rep in Johnson City, the Net Rep represents Johnson City, Washington County, Unicoi, Carter. They have been very receptive toward coming in to the fold. They have voted, their board voted to join the HUB. Networks has been a totally different story. But it's not up to networks and it's not up to Net Rep. It's up to your county commissioners and your cities. We need Kingsport and Sullivan County to make this work. Otherwise, it's not going to happen, in my opinion. It will be very difficult to put together regionalism without the 2 major counties. And yes, they will fund more of it than the Unicoi and the Carter counties because we're larger counties and we're already funded more. And we will continue. But we reap the benefit of the industry locating in a adjoining county or nearby county. I don't think that most of you here, today, if you were voting on Eastman Chemical Company or Domtar located in the middle of downtown, most of you would prefer that they be out a little farther. Well, we're not going to recruit an industry into downtown because it's just not going to happen. Environmental rules are such that it's almost impossible. But we do need to find available land. We're going to put together a committee that does nothing but study available land. And there's land that's not for sale that could be for sale, and we need to know what that is. We've got the airport out here that we spent millions of dollars on, tens of millions of dollars. That's a project that the airport is responsible for recruiting business and industry into that. It's not networks' primary responsibility. I don't understand that, but that is being recruited by the airport. You know, we've got a lot of money out there. We need every person that we can working toward filling that, not let it sit there for 10, 15, and 20 years. I think that if each county within this region would work together, we've worked fairly well on the airport. The airport's been very successful. Every entity that owns the airport was involved in the bond issue and the land acquisition, well, we already had the land, but in the bond issue to make the hills more flat. And the state is looking at us at how we handle that. I don't think we probably are getting the exposure that we need for a lot of the things that we have. I know that some people feel like that you don't want to do this because it's just another way of Johnson City taking over Kingsport. Yes, I've heard that. And I've heard that I don't like Al Levine, and I've heard I don't like this one and that. If we let that happen to a point, it's our own fault. I had a county commissioner ask me a question of the fact that Sullivan County and Kingsport and Bristol have spent a lot of money on land. And we spent a lot of money on developing land that is ready for industry. That is not a negative. If you were flying in an airplane at 30,000 feet and the engines went out and you were looking for a place to land and you looked out the right side and there was a big, nice, grassy field, which you probably could land on, maybe. But if you looked out your left side and there was a 10,000 foot runway that was paved, where would you land that plane? Well, that's kind of the way I feel about it. If you have the land and it's available, you have a much better chance of obtaining new industry. And I'm going to say that Sullivan County and its cities have done an outstanding job of getting ready for industry to locate here. Bristol has done a great job. Kingsport has done a great job in Sullivan County. And you know, the cities can do very little without the help of the county. And we have a pretty good relationship. Now, I will tell you, Bristol is adamantly opposed to the hub. I think their opinion is that they have about everything they need going for them, and I commend them for that. But I will tell you, when I went to Nashville to be the commissioner, the first letter I got was from attorney Frank Moore, who many of you probably knew it most out well there. And Mr. Moore taught me one little note. He said, "Dear Dennis, congratulations on your new position. Remember your friends on the way up, because you're sure as hell going to need them on the way down." So, you know, that's kind of, I've never forgot that. And just because you're very prosperous now doesn't mean 10 years from now. You know, we all need that casino to be a major success. But so did Tupelo, Mississippi, and some of the other places. So you know, things can happen, but we need to prepare for the future. I think we can take, when we speak to the governor's office and our legislators, you know, we got 160,000 people in Sullivan County. In the area that we're talking about, we got about 600,000. I'll tell you, then in politics, numbers matter, and they listen to numbers. There is no reason, in my opinion, that we should not try the hub, especially the fact that we're not asking for any more money. We are asking that networks be rolled into the hub. We are asking that, because otherwise, if you've got networks out here and you've got this one and this and that, what we've done, we've created another entity to compete with each other. We don't want to be a competitor to networks. We can go off and do this without networks, but we haven't accomplished our mission of speaking with one voice in economic development. You know, when you've got the network people that are beating on the doors of Nashville, and our legislators wanting an industry to locate here, we got the hub here, we've just created more problems. We don't need that. We need to join forces and give regionalism a try. We've talked about it, for, as I said, for many, many years. And I think if you'll talk to your legislators, they will tell you that this is not a bad thing to happen, because we would have more clout with the governor's office. And you know, our legislators, we depend on for a lot of funding, but we also depend on the governor's office for a lot of funding. And, you know, if Mark Costa of Eastman calls the governor, he's probably gonna answer his phone. If I call the governor, some assistant maybe will call me back. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to develop enough clout within our region that we can be heard by Nashville, that this area is not a bunch of barefoot and pregnant people that some people think we are. And we have that. Talk to your county commissioners if they ask you if you've got any questions. I'll do my best to answer them, but I can't overstate the fact that we're in this, and we want this to be successful, to complement what has already been done, not to make it harder or more difficult, not to take anything away from any cities. And there's been things said that it's hard to overcome, and one of them is that we're going to close all the chambers. You know, we need, each individual city needs their individuality more than anything else they do. But when it comes to economic development, that's one area that I stand by my guns so we can do a better job together. Now it's early, and I've about left myself wide open for questions. And John, and another area, we have an association that we don't really need to rehash and try to redo. It's call it NETNHUB for short, Northeast Tennessee Tourism Association. And it's been pretty active with what little funds that they have. They have about $300,000 a year to do something with. And they're competing with the Asheville tourism and has between $8 and $10 million per year to do something with. Well, two things. One, I don't want to be Asheville. And two is, I don't think we're going to spend $8 to $10 million a year just on the net by any means. I do think they need more funding. We're doing, in Kingsport, for example, we're doing an outstanding job, our Vision Bureau, of getting sporting events and things in here for the, mostly they concentrate on sports, and that brings a lot of people in here. What we would like to see is through the NET organization, maybe a funding that was like, say, $1 million a year, and it would have to come from all the hotel tourism people to promote things like the Bays Mountain, the covered bridge of Elizabeth, the Tweetsy Trail. If you promote all these things and get people come in here, if they drive in here to see Bays Mountain and stay one day, that's fine and good. But if we get them in here to go into all these places or maybe stay a week, where they stay at our hotels, motels, eat in our restaurants, and that's a part I think we need improvement. Kingsport needs no improvement on getting sporting events. They do an outstanding job, and they do an outstanding job in other tourism areas, but I think they're not interested in promoting the Tweetsy Trail or the things in the other counties. And that's because of the makeup of it. But I think if we utilize the Northeast Tennessee Tourism, the NETNHUB group, that we can promote all these things under one heading and make it a destination point for things other than sports. And don't just come to see one thing, come to see 4 or 5 things. And I think that we can all benefit in tourism. Tourism, in my opinion, in this area is something that we really are missing the boat on. And if you don't think tourism is important, that's Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg.
And workforce development.
Yes, we're working hard on workforce development, and that's, and our city is working hard, our county is working, we're all working on workforce development, and that's something we need to do together as a region. When the first time that Eastman gave their state of the state or state of the union or whatever address that they gave, I was mayor that year, and the president, Brian Ferguson, he talked for about 45 minutes, but the only thing I heard in that whole meeting was, you all are not going to be able to fill the jobs of the people we have retired, of the factory workers, and that's a grave concern to us. Eastman's headquarters this year for a reason. You know, we've all been nervous they're going to move their headquarters. If we want to make an impression on our industry that's here, if we can't provide a workforce, we'll never get new industry. I remember years ago when I was in the banking business, we kind of wouldn't hire anybody over 40. Today, I wouldn't touch anybody under 40. I'm kidding, you would, but I mean, you take whoever you can get. But the younger, it's like I told someone about being a parent. I said, if you're going to get along with your child today, it's going to be on their terms, not yours. Well, if you're going to get the younger people under 40s to work today, they're going to work under their terms, not yours. So it's a changing world that some of us older people are having a real problem getting used to. So working through with the workforce development, the TDEX and Elizabethton and Morristown, I mean, these are extremely important because Eastman is concerned, Longtar is concerned, Oliver is concerned. Are we going to be able to get the workers that we need to fill the jobs of our people retiring? Does anyone other than Glenn have a question? Miss George, my girlfriend.
A minute ago, when you were talking about tourism, you were talking about that we could use the money from the hotels. In doing that, being that each of the cities is already using that money, are you talking about increasing that tax at a state level so we could raise that higher so there would be additional funds? Are you talking about what's already there so it would take away from what's going, like what we use now for our tourism? We'd have to come up with a different fund from the city to put toward that if part of this went to a bigger picture.
That's a possibility. That's what, but remember this, the hotel motel tax, take away COVID, has been going. So each year they get a little more. I'm saying, and nothing like this is written in stone, but there's some considerations. Getting the county hotel motel tax in the counties, taking a small amount from each one that has it now, that is two ways you can do it. Increasing the tax is another way. You know, high percent. I'm not really big on raising taxes, but I think we can spread. We can, if we do it right, we can spread the money around by taking. One option is to take a little bit from each one to fund the net organization, which hopefully will come back to you in more hotel, restaurant taxes, things like that. That's the government.
But if you look at how the cities perceive that, when you take